Hi guys, it's Anya and welcome back to my channel. A couple days ago I posted actually last time I posted, which was a while ago, I did a video about my experience in the Mormon church and what I kind of went through there. And I was very jittery, not very clear in my video because the wounds were still fresh. I've gotten some time to heal over the trauma I went through with that church, not only that church, but the abuse I went through with my father, which made the whole Mormon church experience so much worse. But today I'm just going to go over the Mormon. Today I'll be able to be a little bit more clear, more concise, and this video should not be as choppy. So, I was baptized into the Mormon church forcefully when I was about 14. I just got tired of being pressured by everyone around me that I just buckled and said, okay, I'll join your church. The missionaries would come over almost every single day till I joined, and they just would not stop. I know why now I was so hesitant to join, why it took me so long, because they were trying to convince me for like a year to join before I finally did. It's because I didn't want to be a part of that church. There was the part of me that knew everything the book said, everything they were saying to me was all BS. And I didn't want to believe in it. But, you know, when somebody bothers you for a year about something, you eventually give up. It's just how it is. And I didn't like the Mormon church for one reason. I didn't like the way they treated people who didn't believe the same as them. Like, literally in school, in where I lived, it was literally a requirement to take seminar in order to pass high school. They were willing to screw up somebody's future for not believing the same religion as them. I mean, it was crazy. And I noticed that when I joined the Mormon church, they tried changing me into what they wanted me to be, what they perceived me as, and not me. I became rude, I became cold and callous and resentful. Just mean. And by the time I had spent a year in that church, I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize that person anymore. It wasn't me, it wasn't who I wanted to be. And I eventually started turning against the church, started questioning what they were telling me, started turning against what they wanted me to be, and they started treating me horribly again. I mean, they literally, like, told women who did sports to go kill themselves. They beat up a gay guy, and they literally told me I needed to quit my job because women were not supposed to be in the workplace. And when I quit my job, I actually did get beat by my dad that night for quitting my job. My dad was abusive, which I can cover the whole abuse in another video. I'll leave some parts out because they're personal, but my dad was abusive, and he was so abusive that I did turn to the Mormon church for help, and I regret it so much. I told them what was going on, and they were completely dismissive about it. And when I confronted them about being dismissive about it, maybe like a day or even an hour later, they would act like I didn't even tell them. They were very two-faced with me. To my face, they acted like my friend and that they were going to believe everything I said, but to my dad, they said, oh, we know she has a tendency to stretch the truth, which is not true. I only lied to them about one thing, and that's after I tried to tell them that everything was going badly at home. I told them that everything was fine at home because I just gave up. I noticed that asking them for help was not going to help me, and I needed to fight my own battles and my own demon, and my demon in that time was my father. Unfortunately. But this is more of the Mormon church. I will support this till the day I die. Don't ever join the Mormon church. I mean, if there's anybody who sees this video, and I do advise you to share this video with as many people as you possibly can, if there is any way you can advise people to just stay away from that church, I definitely recommend it. If you know somebody who's on the fence about it, show them this video. Show them that this is not what they want in their life. They will take you as a person, build a character for you, and jam you into it that you won't even recognize who you are anymore. And you'll go through what I went through, replaying all the motions and the stuff you did and the stuff you ignored that you should have stepped up and said something in your head, and you're just gonna hate yourself because that's exactly what I went through. I hated what I was doing, and I hated that I watched these people get hurt and did nothing. I honestly, it drove me to almost commit suicide. And one time I said I didn't want to be a part of the church, and 5, maybe 6 boys had cornered me that day, pulled me into the bathroom and essayed me. And I just broke. I didn't think straight. I couldn't do anything. I was just replaying that moment in my head over and over and over and over again, and I just couldn't forget it no matter what I did. I tried so hard to let it go and to not think about it, but I know now as a person, to constantly relive that moment in your head is totally natural. You're not just going to forget it because it doesn't just go away. I still wear those scars to this day. I mean, where I lived, I told the cops what was going on and they didn't take me seriously. They completely ignored it. It literally took me moving to another state to get people to listen to me. You know, I went into the locker room one day and there were bruises all over me, and the girls in the locker room in another state said, oh, she didn't get those bruises to herself. I mean, and the cops, when they heard and saw what was going on, they took it so seriously that it was scary. To go from a state where nobody listened to me, where nobody was trying to help me, to a state where more people were concerned about me was honestly such a relief. In that state, nobody believed me, and I went to a state and Child Services was in the room one day and said, okay, you need to tell me what's going on at home. And she said, because 25 people have reported the bruises and how you flinch every time they so much as raise a hand. You need to tell me what is causing you to be this way. 25 people reported this. When I heard how many people reported it, it literally moved me to tears, because it was like, finally somebody cares. Finally I can finally get some help. And then I told her everything that was going on at home. And I got in contact with my mother. And my dad almost beat me to death that night because of what happened. I was starved. When I came to my mom's house, she's like, did you even eat? Because she could see like my ribs, my stomach was sunken in, my arms were very thin, because he would literally starve me. My mom, when he heard the police were on this tail, he literally threw me out in the middle of winter. Then one day he came to my friend's house where I was staying, because her parents had took me in, said, who do you want to live with, me or your mom? Like, that was even a question. I said, my mom. So he took me home that night, packed my stuff up, and left me. Not even at my mom's house, in the middle of the night. I had to find my way. I mean, thankfully I did, and thankfully my mom accepted me with open arms. But all that in between will be more explained in depth on another. But the reason that runs into the Mormon church is because I wouldn't have had to been pushed to that point if the Mormon church had just believed me in the first place. They thought I left bruises on my back and around my neck and on my legs by myself. How would I do that? Why would I do that? Well, actually, with how much abuse I was going through at home, some people do that. But they didn't know that. So knowing that, why would they think I would do that to myself? I mean, it's not like the girls in the locker rooms didn't notice the bruise. I could tell some of them noticed the bruise and they just didn't say anything. My dad was just in the Mormon church. And it was so weird, because when my mom confronted the guy about not believing me, he claimed he didn't even know me, which was complete BS, because I was on their records. Because when she called the actual church and asked them what was going on, they said, oh, yep, she's on a record. Yep, she was baptized when he was in charge. So mom said, how come I got all this proof, yet you're claiming you have no idea who she is? And that kind of made him backtrack, which was actually a lot. That happened a lot in the church when I called them out on stuff like that. They'd backtrack and change their story, and they was just never consistent, because they all knew it was BS. Now, I understand not every Mormon church is like that, but the ones I experienced were. I mean, if they left their bubble, they'd be screwed because nobody cares if you're Mormon out in the real world. They only care in people who have been in states who are more predominantly Mormon. You know what I mean by bubble. But if the real world comes into their bubble, they either break or they're just gonna crumble. Because they think that everything's perfect in their little bubble. Nothing could ever go wrong. That's why the cops don't take their job seriously. It's because they're like, oh, these people are just making it up. Their mama read something about it in the church and they saw that as abuse, and it's crazy. It really is. I mean, it was in school, it was everywhere, and the pain it caused me drove me to almost commit suicide. I just, oh my gosh, I will say this, don't ever join the Mormon church. It's a bad idea. They're gonna change who you are and just something you don't want to be. And I honestly don't want anyone to look in the mirror and go through what I went through, because you're gonna hate yourself afterwards. Just where I was. Not all Mormon churches are like that, but just in general, I say avoid the whole religion, because they don't accept responsibility for their own religion anyways. There was a church that was marrying a 12-year-old girls off to 60-year-old men. And when I brought that up in my private group chat, this Mormon lady had gotten in. I don't know how she got in there. It's private, again. So she said, well, you can't put that to all Mormon churches because that wasn't our church. And I said, I understand that. And somebody came in and said, but it's your religion. So the Mormons don't accept responsibility for their own religion. And I realized that some Catholic, Christians, Baptist church do the exact same thing. Honestly, but when people ask you what religion you are and you say you're an atheist, and then they ask why, and you say Mormons, and people go, oh, there's something wrong with your church. Obviously, you're doing something wrong if people just have to say your religion's name and don't have to question any further why you're an atheist. Most people do go from Mormonism to atheism. Anyways, I am classified as a Mormon X, technically. I am one, because I don't believe in that church. I'm completely against it. I will never be with it. And the really weird thing is that when I moved places and they found out where I live now, they literally did anything they could to get me to come back to church, sending missionaries over all the time. They came over so much, my mom had to call the cops because it was becoming harassment. Because I had told them, I don't want to be a part of your church. Please leave me alone. And they wouldn't. They did not take a hint. I mean, I literally have a birthday card from this year downstairs from them. I haven't even seen them I haven't even been to that church in 3 years. I'm never going back to that church. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's completely out of my life. Just like my father. And that's where it needs to stay. I'm happy now. I have a good job. I'm going to college soon. I'm going to get a career, and I graduated high school, which would have never happened if I lived in Utah or was still with my dad. I just said the state, oh well. Which would have never happened if I had stayed in the Mormon church, and if I had stayed with my father, I would have failed high school. Which I'll explain why in the next video. But I just mainly posted this video because I wanted you guys to know what the Mormon church was like in my experience with them. They changed who I was. They made me hate myself. They drove me to do horrible things. And I don't ever want anybody to feel that sinking feeling when they recognize all that they've done like I did. So please, just avoid Mormons if you can. In fact, avoid Jehovah's Witnesses too, because I hear they're just as bad. Anyways, I love you all, and I pray for, and well, I don't believe in God, so I can't pray, but I do hope that all of you stay safe out there, and please take what I say into consideration if you are in the Mormon church or on the fence about it, because I'm not the only person that has said this. I love you all. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.